And welcome to round 5 Tuesday Night Heffron podcast. It's fantastic to be back. Unfortunately, we had to miss a week last week, but we've come back with double the energy, double the excitement, most likely triple the visuals once we get in with the drones and the photos that have been supplied to us. But before that begins, we have to welcome, I am, of course, your host for tonight, Mr. Alexis Kaless, and we have the illustrious Mr. John Sunde joining us. Good evening, John. And fresh from his very long solo bike ride, raising money for mental health, Vaughan, welcome back. Well done.
Thanks,
Glad to have
boys.
you here.
I'm very happy to be back and loved Tuesday night racing. I had a lot of energy, a lot of bounce, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
That's right. It was an unusual Tuesday night because the cloud cover came in. It was very dark. I think a few people were saying, is it happening? Is it not happening? But for those who did make it down on Tuesday night, it was a spectacle of racing with A-grade making the catch, I suppose, making the catch,
the straight,
hitting the front until the straight. On the final, the straight. A couple 100 meters to go, A-grade. Like that is... I'll tell you what, credit to the handicappers because they absolutely...
I think credit to that's precise handicapping. That's knowing the field. That's what that's called.
That is having called 40 seasons of experience. And look, there are so many things to discuss from Tuesday. I don't know where to begin, so I'm going to throw it over to one of you guys. Who wants to start?
I'll kick off. And say the weather was touch and go all day, and that does my head in. Busy enough as it is, let alone having to watch the bomb refresh. Even up at 4 o'clock, I thought we still may cop some rain, but we didn't. And congratulations and thanks to all the riders that did enter. We had a half a dozen, unfortunately, who didn't make it for whatever reason. The weather may or may not have put them off. But what a beautiful night, and slightly smaller numbers across all three grades. But sometimes the smaller numbers, it has a more intimate vibe about it, and I think the racing is a little bit better because there's not as much stress when you've got higher numbers. And I thought C grade, it was their night. They had a great start, but they fell apart. I got caught by B grade with 5 to go. And then, like you mentioned, Alexi, A grade on the last lap, actually coming into the straight. So top effort by them.
I'll just jump in quickly before we get into the race.
We'll let you go first.
Sorry,
you fire away.
The first thing I wanted to say is about the weather is I was so excited to be back from Tassie and back to come and watch some bike racing. I was had the broom out at 3 o'clock. I had a blower trying to blow water off, trying to make out as the track looked heaps better than what it actually was, and I was pretty doubtful. But then we got to give a massive shout out to all of the Easts guys and the volunteers because I reckon by about 4 o'clock there was 5 or 6 of us at all different points around the tracks. We'd had some nasty weather, right? The track was an absolute disgrace, but there were brooms out and blowers out and stuff. And so, and then John on the phone at 4 o'clock going, are we on? And I'm like, we're on. And then it ended up just being the perfect night. And the other thing I wanted to say, the handicap, mate. Sunday, you've got a bit of the old Midas touch going on. That's the best handicapping I think I've ever seen.
Because at 4:01, I was walking through Wynyard, and it was starting to rain. And I saw Edwin Britz walk out of Cache, look at the sky, and I think he saw the raindrops and thought, maybe I don't have to enter tonight. And
I guarantee you that's exactly what he thought, because at that stage he hadn't entered.
So it all kicked off. Look, B grades, what kind of gap did they get to a rather small A grade field on Tuesday night, John? What were you thinking? Because I suppose for those that weren't there, B rolled out, C grade were right behind them.
Yes, C grade got the handsome start, the very generous start, right behind B grade. And then we usually stand on the start line as A grade have got 1 foot in the cleat ready to go. And as soon as we see B grade hit that pimple, at some point just after that, we start A grade. And it was no different from the previous couple of weeks. B grade came over, Vaughan looked at me, muttered 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And off they went.
But you obviously timed it perfectly because 17 of 19 A graders finished on the night. Whereas pretty high finishes in B grade as well, 23 of 27, 12 of 19 starters. I'll probably put a bit of a, maybe consider it a bit of a downer, but interesting. I actually find that light headwind down the straight as a C grade, almost the most boring of the weeks of the race. Like I kind of think, I think maybe because it kills the chance of C grade. And so you're like,
it does.
It's boring, right? It's boring racing. I much prefer a crosswind or where it's windier out the back. I don't know.
I noticed that on the first lap as C grade came down. I thought they're not moving very fast. When I saw B grade come down, they were moving a lot quicker, and A grade were just drilling it. Like you said, they had 19 starters, so they had 4 or 5 more starters than they had the previous week. And I think that a couple of 2 or 3 extra riders just gave them some extra horsepower. Good to see Lucas Stevenson back racing.
I thought it'd been a few weeks.
You haven't seen Benny Coates wasn't there last week. Good to have him back. Tommy Bolton's been on his odyssey in the bush. He's come back with fresh legs.
Will Clark was there racing. And I think everyone else was there. I mean, you had as many A graders as C graders.
Yeah. Yes. That's unusual.
That is unusual.
I just want to mention something that it's really, I never get the entries. That last week in round 4, there were 25 riders who, for whatever reason, which is totally beyond me, did not race on Tuesday night. I mean, what were you doing on Tuesday night that you weren't at Heffron? But you were there the previous week. It's beyond me. So, guys, if you race this week, I expect to see you next week.
I'd also like to add, you go, Vaughan. You're going to be more interesting than my facts.
Well, I've just got a little first laps fact for you, which, you know, so Crafty was like, this is it. C grade are going to get to the finish. And I'm like, nah, there's not many numbers in there, mate. Like, they're going to really struggle. It's like a blockish headwind, but it's not very strong. I think it'll be interesting to see. And I could just tell by the way B grade took off the line, the Centennial boys were ripping it straight away. My players were really hungry to give it a crack. But have a listen to this. So the first lap time from a standstill was a 3:09 for C grade, a 2:50 for B grade, and a 2:49 for A grade. So they're only 1 second difference in that first lap. But I've been breaking it down a lot more, and we can talk about it a bit later. But what was really interesting is A grade came into the straight, and I was like, that's interesting. And Crafty grabbed it off, and he goes, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that B grade looks faster because blah, 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 but B grade are on their second lap, and this is it. And I was like, no, that's not what I was going to say. He goes, what are you going to say? And I'm like, B grade were definitely going faster on their first lap up the straight than A grade are going right now. And he's like, nah, not possible. Sorry, Crafty. But B grade were absolutely screaming up the straight on their very first lap. They did a 12-second last 200 metres, while A grade did a 14 seconds. And so the next 3 or 4 laps, there was only 4 seconds a lap difference between A grade and B grade. So B grade just had the ears pinned back and were.
Well, what they had is they had the momentum of 27 riders, and that makes that's a big difference.
Yep.
But what then tends to happen to B grade, of that 27 riders, you've really only got 10 that are doing all the donkey work. And as the race goes on, those 10 riders become a little bit more tired. And that's where A grade then, towards the closing stages, get faster.
100%. Lap 6, the gap was 8 seconds. And that's exactly where it started to fall off from lap 6. You had big Rob Crichton, Pommy Rob, just doing monster amounts of work. And there's some great photos from our mate Scribble.
Right. Yeah, there's a great photo. I think it was on Greg McCarthy's gallery of Robbie on the last lap, and the jaw is almost his jaw's almost on the stem.
That's how you gauge how hard it is. You're like lap 4, you have a look at Pommy Rob's face. Yeah, he's hurting a little bit. Lap 8, God, he's like chewing butter.
Actually, I'm going to tell you a funny story about Pommy Rob. He was very upset there was no podcast last week, Alexis, because his weekly ritual, he works in Canberra on a Friday and listens to the podcast on the way back, and he had nothing to listen to.
You think he was disappointed? I won the race last week if it was one lap to go, and I didn't get to do the podcast. I mean, I was like, I had the photo there and everything. So he wasn't the only one who was disappointed. And I'm sure Henk Vogels was also listening in, going, "Hey, where's the podcast?"
That was the week before.
Yeah, I know, but he's
Oh,
going to
yeah, well,
listen
he's
every
tuned
week
in
now.
now every week.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's
Johnny,
not missing
he's
another
not
week.
going to be listening once.
No.
But no, I thought that was some really good. If we look kind of through the grades, yeah, I think you're right. I think C grade, they probably packed it in after 4 laps and started to wait. But there were some great rides in there. I thought Matthew Connor, he probably doesn't get the shout outs he often deserves in this podcast. And
Matt works hard.
He does every week. I also was, before this, was talking about Charlie. Is it Peter? Peters?
Yeah, young Charlie. Yeah.
He was having a good crack, having a good dig. Obviously, we're talking about the forms of Morgs and so forth. But the biggest, most impressive rides on the night were, I'd like to call out Caitlin Rose.
Was a lot of feedback on Caitlin.
Unbelievable. From a rider who only a few weeks ago was getting out, was dissing on the back. We got caught, B grade, C grade got caught by B grade, 6-7 laps to go? And she just slotted in with B and just rode those final laps. Not a care in the world in that bunch, just was cruising.
Yeah. Her confidence has gone through the roof in the last 3 weeks, and her
huge.
result showed it. And when Nicole Oh, who won the women's on Tuesday night, brings her number back and says, "Oh, that Kate, she's getting really, really strong. I'm going to have to start watching her."
Yep, that's right. So then obviously, and then we also had first timer Alana from Caulfield Carnegie turned up from down in Melbourne. She obviously up here for the Pro Velo races.
Yes, she is. Yep.
Never ridden Heffron before. Didn't shirk a turn at all. And look, if I was turning up for first time, you'd just think, I'll just sit in, save my legs, learn for a couple of laps. No, from the get-go, she's closing gaps. She's rolling turns when no one else is coming through. She rode another superb ride.
Yeah, she had a good ride.
She did. So then obviously Nicole Wilson and also Gabrielle Fox, Green May. I mean, Mount Fox. Cycling, I think Irish, Scottish, English, somewhere in the UK.
Go Irish.
She, again, is another one has shown the benefit of turning up week in, week out. And she's now blitzing it as well.
I was mentioning Gabrielle's ride to someone yesterday afternoon and saying that when she first arrived, just before Christmas, straight off the Aer Lingus flight, direct Dublin-Sydney, she was in a bit of shock of the intensity of Heffron Park Tuesday night racing. And since then, she's been to Adelaide. She's ridden the Pro Velo series down there. She's done Tour of Tassie. And her confidence and strength and skill has grown enormously in that time. So it was good to have her back racing. And good luck to all the riders who are riding in the Pro Velo Super League Sydney Grand Prix this weekend.
Absolutely. Right. And another little shout out with Gab Fox. I call her the Gab Fox, but because I caught up with her down in Tassie, because obviously I got down there around the same time as Tour of Tassie and had a great catch up with her. And then she sent me a message saying, "Is racing on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's definitely going to be on." And she rode 45 Ks across town. And when she first arrived, I don't remember if you remember seeing her, John, she had a backpack on and she was just looking at me going, and in her accent, she was not happy with me at all because it poured rain. And then at the end, I was about to walk over and said, "Hey, I've got the team car here. I'll give you a lift back up." And she's off, rode back home. So big shout out.
Yeah, no, I thought that women's race was fantastic, and it shows in the points. But then we get back to probably controversy corner. B grade probably threw that race away on Tuesday night. Like how they didn't win. They got to the straight, so they only needed another 10 seconds, maybe even less.
Oh, well,
because if they were able to launch their sprints early,
they needed 800 meters, didn't they?
Oh, they would probably needed 200 meters just so people can launch their sprints. Vaughan, with your stats.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you. I've done a little screen recording of it already. 3 laps to go ish. You see, or for 5 laps to go, I think you see Benny Gladstonebury cross across to B grade, drive it through on the right-hand side of C grade, drive it through. He pulls across, for someone to roll through. I won't mention the two names that were on the wheel. They don't pull through. So then...
Who were they? You broke up. I couldn't hear their names.
Yeah. And so then they started freewheeling, and then the entire bunch freewheels into the Squircle. Yeah. They lose 5 seconds there. 3 laps to go, the exact same thing happens. The fantastic thing is we all have it on drone footage. No one can deny it happened or it didn't happen. Same thing again, people dropping wheels, people looking at each other. And so on 3 laps to go, they lost 15 seconds because people weren't pulling through on the turns. And a big shout out on, and I'm probably very biased, but that's when Robbie Allen came from about 6 wheels back, went to the front and drove it for nearly half a lap. And he was supposed to, in the players, he was supposed to be the P, but he could see what was going on, and then tried to get the pace happening again in that group. But that's it. When they caught, they didn't push, and then with 3 laps to go, they lost 15 seconds. They'd only been losing 4 seconds a lap.
But the brutality of Heffron, though, it's that one corner, 5 seconds. Like if you look at the finish results, it's the first B grader isn't 5 seconds behind Kurt Eather. So it's one corner of a race of, I don't know how many times you do that. Say there's 46 corners or something in this race. It's probably more, about 68 or something. But one corner, you take it slow, costs you the race.
Yeah.
That's pretty harsh.
Well, so Vaughan, you were mentioning earlier, what were the time stats coming down the straight compared to the Squircle? I thought that was an interesting stat.
Yeah, so really interesting. So basically, I basically broke down lap times at lap 1, lap 6, and 3 laps to go on last lap. Last lap's a bit out all over the shop, but because everyone's together, obviously. So I've got rid of that last lap. But so if you look at the front straight, so the final 200 meters, anyone can do it on Strava. The difference isn't huge amounts. Like we're talking 1 second between A grade and B grade down the straight on a consistent lap after lap, and it's 3 or 4 seconds for C grade. Down the back straight, it's the same. It's 1s and 2s, but through the Squircle, it's massive. Yeah, it's 6.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's 3 to 6 seconds for B grade, depending on what lap it was, and for C grade, it's a lot bigger. It's sort of like the 8 to 9 seconds, but just the Squircle, where the other parts are only really losing 1 or 2 seconds.
I think the other part we can go to losing 1 or 2 seconds, you actually see it, and in no way am I think his name was Logan Campbell of Manly, who did this absolutely monster turn on the front from
what was he on Tuesday night?
From the first pimple all the way through to the straight on the last lap. He was on the front, driving it on, but he then goes all the way to the left-hand side as they hit the straight. I think he was, to be honest, I think that was him rolling off, but everyone in B grade just followed him. And you just see everyone in A grade just move straight up on the right-hand side and just, Chris Miller, I think at that stage.
Yeah, it's almost like they opened the door for him.
They just kind of said, "Oh, we're done." Well, again, we'll lose those 1 or 2 little seconds, probably half a second or so, moving over. But I tell you what, he rode super well, Logan Campbell, and I think it'll.
Didn't he?
You see it in some of the drone. That was a huge turn. And then, it was everyone else there was doing a very good ride. Rab Drummond was up there. When you look at the finish, though, Liam Galtman, he actually is one of the first to attack.
To hit the straight.
Yeah. And he just launches, goes, holds, dies, probably unfortunately with about 100 to go. But gee, he had a good crack at winning. But
didn't he? Who
did win B grade in the end?
Well, I'll tell you who won B grade, and just go back to Ollie Penny's on board footage and also watch the drone as they come into the straight. Luca Zucchiardi. I gotta say, Luca, that was a great ride. That was smart. You were so well positioned. You'll see that when A grade passed B grade at the netball court, he sees the move. He's out of the saddle immediately and back and in on Tommy Bolton's wheel. So when they hit the straight, all he had to do was hold his position, and he did that and did that well.
That's right. I think he hit the straight about 6th wheel, I'd say.
Yeah, but he finished 6th. Yeah. And 5 A graders came past him. And I'll just say those 5 A graders that finished in the top 5, that was it. There were no more A graders after that. It was all B graders.
coming into the netball corner is a really that section, if we can show it, is really, really interesting because you've got the Luka Zook, and then you've got on his outside is Robbie Allen. They've both positioned themselves beautifully, right? Bolton comes past, and Luka just slips past Robbie.
Doesn't he?
Oof, it's like class,
very,
absolute
very
class. Onto the wheel. Then you see Ollie absolutely get out of the seat and go, "You little," and drives it past him. But then, if anyone looks at it closely, he's overcooked it. Ollie Penny. He loses his back wheel. Then he can't tip it in. He bumps into Luka on that corner. A lot of other riders would have panicked and dropped it, and we could have seen a replay of a few weeks ago with that big crash. They lean on each other. They lose a bit of momentum. You sort of lose the footage as they come around the corner into the straight. When you go back, both Ollie and Brad Mills have got past, but Luca's sitting there, and Luca goes, "Oh, well, I have to open my sprint a bit earlier," and goes, "Wow!"
Off he goes, and he just holds his position.
Unreal.
Robbie crosses the line second, so another strong ride by Robbie Allen.
I tell you, he held that sprint as well, Robbie Allen, for an extended period.
Hats off. If you look at the next handful of big grade riders that crossed the line in sort of 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, Hugo Cockard. Hugo's been away for third B grade, been away for a couple of weeks, and got a place, I think, in his last race, and nice ride by him. Also, good photo, Hugo, of your shirt off on the start line by Richard in Richard's gallery. Just wondering whether you use that as a profile pic.
I'd actually then say that Niall won. I didn't realize how quick his sprint was. He finished fourth for B grade. Niall was super duper workaholic, did plenty of work, but also just had a really good crack at going for it. Liam, as we said, launched it, finished fifth,
and then Harvey
Challinor, sixth. Followed by Reece Nolan. Let's round out the 10 because I think they all deserve it. Rab Drummond, Ian Morrison, and then Tommy Hyde back from COVID gave it a good crack there. But B grade, I think, they lost that little bit. Maybe it was only having 3 Centennial Park riders there on the night. I think probably weakened them a little bit. They're not, Tom Hyde's certainly not at peak performance, but like we said, one bad corner.
I spoke to Benny Gladstonebury, and we had a good chat about, because we were missing, Hydroplay was missing Alan, and also Big Ads McCoy.
Yes.
They were missing the Chopper, and D, obviously, and a few others.
D was on the sideline.
Yeah, so if you had those 4 riders back, B grade wins.
Yeah.
And then you did look at those who did win. Kurt Eather again, just so relaxed.
Hats off, Kurt. Kurt Eather has had 5 starts at Heffron in the last 6 weeks. He's won every single race he's turned up to compete in. That includes the Memorial and 4 out of the 5 Skoda rounds of the Summer Series. So that win puts him. Oh, and by the way, Kurt has won 4 of the 5 he's been in, and Scotty has won 1. But every other race that Scotty has been in, that Kurt has been in, Scotty's finished second. So that's why there's only a point between them. So Kurt has finally. So Kurt, if you want to hold on to that trophy, I wouldn't be doing any other races on a Tuesday night.
No, so he's now 1 point ahead on 28 v 27. But let's look at that top 5 who finished on the night for A grade: Kurt Eather, Scott Law, Tom Bolton, Oliver Penny, Brad Mills, and then
what do you call a trio of gutter rats? Is it a trio? Is it a pack?
What's a group of owls? The group of owls, isn't that a university of owls? No, a parliament of owls.
Parliament of owls, yeah.
Parliament. Yeah, I don't know what a group of gutter rats are.
Yes,
pack of rats. Rat pack. Yeah, so the rat pack, 4th, 5th, and 6th. No, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah. But that top 5, I actually think kind of leading kind of on past the race. But when you start to look at how this season's gone, those top 5, they're probably the top 5 of the season, really. And then you also look at the other grades, and all the riders now who are starting to wear the jerseys are the riders who start to go, yep, they're all quality. And I think when you look at the podium shot from Tuesday night, the only person not in a leader's jersey was Nicole Oh.
That's right. Well, she will be next week.
She will be. So then, otherwise, you'd have everyone was a season leader. Luke Cromer winning C grade. Luca was in B, so he was wearing it. Scotty Law, Kurt Eather.
Yeah, I thought that too.
There might
Alexi,
be something to your point score.
Yeah, when you looked at the podium and you saw that all the jerseys were represented on the podium, apart from the women's. Yeah, very impressive rides. 3 races to go, and anything can happen over 3 weeks. So, and there's not much of a gap.
Exciting too. Like finish between Anthony Challinor Senior and Lukey Cromer. That was close on the line.
Yes, yeah, very close.
Did they both have aero socks on?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that could be I reckon Kurt Eather's wearing aero socks.
Yeah, well, he had the aero skin suit on. Then he had to change to put the jersey on.
Wet.
So with 3 races to go, we've got 1 point difference in the series lead.
That's right. So
That's
right. So maybe we'll go series lead at the moment is Kurt Eather on 28, Scott Law on 27, then a big drop down to Ollie Penny on 10. Then Tom Bolton on 7, Bennett on 5, Brad Mills on 5. So essentially, you'd have to say it's Law or Eather for the series win.
Yeah, unless Ollie wins 3 races outright, picks up 20-odd points, and the others unplaced, which Ollie's good, but I don't think he's going to do that.
So
1
then
point,
in A grade,
3-point difference in B grade.
Well, your A grade though is still Eather, Law, Penny, Bolton, sort of thing. But your B grade, this is huge. Luca, probably rider of the season. He's on 8 points, 3 clear of Robbie Allen, who certainly say has the brains and the team to get him there. Otherwise, you've got Liam Goldman, Ray Shocker, Lou Schofield, and Hugo all on 3 points. So 8 for
Luca, the only one that's going
5.
to challenge from that group is Hugo, because we haven't seen Ray or Luke back and are likely to do so. I'll tell you who was missing on Tuesday night and who had entered and has been picking up points in the last 2 or 3 weeks is Scotty Carver. So hopefully we'll see Scotty back in action next week.
But I think Liam Goldman, he rides so aggressively that he will go for the win as opposed to the series. That could cost him, where I can see Luca scheming and plotting, working away there, carefully choosing his moments. So I think Robbie and Luca, there'll be an interesting battle to watch the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is we like him so much.
We like everybody.
My whole team's just like, oh, Luke is so good. I'm like, he's such a good kid. Yeah. I said to Robbie, I'm like, dude, you probably should have shut the door on him. He goes, oh, no, I can't shut the door on him there.
That's where you're going wrong.
That's where you're going wrong. Kill him, destroy. Because then we move to C grade, another great battle. Luke Cromer on 11, Challinor Anthony Senior on 8, Pongsack on 6. Then it drops down, Emma Jeffcoat, Gareth Collins, and a few others on 1 point. So it's really only 2-3 riders collecting all the points in C grade. Pongsack will be disappointed that he wasn't there on Tuesday night. And
I don't know where Pongsack
even though he'd had a huge turnout of supporters the previous week, and as a result was actually seen riding at the front of the race in the previous week, perhaps that was he's now done for the season. His legs, he'd never seen so much wind. But Challinor, Luke Cromer, I think will be a very exciting, and that'll come down to the final rounds. I don't think Luke's going to promote himself in the last couple of weeks into, I'm just going to ride B-grade
just experience. A tip. I don't think Luke is there. He told me that he's got some work thing on. I don't know how that would interfere with Heffron.
He's handing in his resignation on Monday.
So he could be out of action on Tuesday night. So there's a chance. Just quickly, also Michael Stanton third across the line on Tuesday night. So well done, Mick.
Yeah, I've been picking him to get a win. So I think Tuesday might have thought, and then another great battle in the women's. So we've got Nicole Oh currently leading on the 7. This is like the seesawing battle here. Nicole Oh on 7, Nicole Wilson on 6.
There's nothing in that, is there?
Keira Will on 6, Lucy Allen on 3, Caitlin Rose on 3. And look, they also look like Caitlin and Lucy. So I know I get the confused. They could probably just combine points. But are you going to pick it between Nicole Oh, Nicole Wilson, Keira Will.
Well, Keira's only been there for 2 races and she's won both of them. Nicole has now won 2 races in the absence of Keira. So my tip is still Keira if and when she's going to race. She's just riding, I think, at a different level to the other girls, and she proved that over Christmas, didn't she, when she won a national title?
National title. But yeah, it's tough because I mean I know I think I very briefly was with Nicole O on Tuesday night, and I know I was talking to Michael Bolt from Manly on the ride home from B grade, and he said he got stuck behind Nicole, and when he says stuck, he meant I got behind her. I was like, she is so aerodynamic that she said like when she was in the drops, he said that was the same height as my bike frame. Like he said, I just got no protection at all. He was like, why am I in this position? This is killing me. So her aerodynamics impossible. But yeah, I
can't say I've ever had that comment about people sitting behind me.
Yeah, no, me neither. Strange. Very strange. But yeah, I'd like to think Nicole Wilson, Nicole O, Keira Will, that will be whoever can make the final 3 rounds remaining. So and also there I'd suggest get all your teammates as well. Get the numbers up, fill the grades, protect your victory. Maybe even let a few of them ride off the front. Maybe they're going to be like giving away points, hoping that someone else can collect them. Of course, that then moves us to one of the most exciting times of the week. The highlight of so many riders' weeks. So whether you're sitting in your car or in the bike shop now and you're thinking, who is going to be the Chargrill Charlies Rider of the week? John, you've got a big smile on your face, so I'm going to start with you.
I'm smiling because I can't. It's a tough one. My go-to was Luca. After watching that video, I thought, hey, that was impressive. Riding way beyond his years, his experience. So very impressed with that. But I've almost become used to Luca doing that. Too many podiums, Luca.
I will just jump in there. I actually thought when I watched that thing, I watched the drone, watched the onboard footage, saw the results. I was almost like, is he almost ready for A grade?
Yeah, well, if he wins B grade, he will be. But I'm going to throw Curly in there this week. Scott Law, and I'll tell you why. He's a retired bike rider. He's only been beaten this entire season by one person, and that is an active and very capable bike rider in Kurt Eather. I've been impressed with Scotty's commitment to racing all season, and second again. I know it's a bridesmaid position. He's only out of it by 1 point. My rider of the week, just for a solid ride yet again, Scott Law.
Okay. Vaughan?
Bias, I'm going to give Robbie Allen a massive shout out because I think him having to go to the front and do
you're just copying me going for a second placer.
Yeah, and then the other person that we didn't mention that I really wanted to mention is with a lap and a half to go, A grade still had a lot of work to do, and Chris Miller, if you look at that drone footage, that was a ridiculously long turn. Like he was on the front at the start of the straight. Someone came through, did a bit of a half turn. He went straight back to the front. He dragged them all the way. And you look who's the first A grader into the straight as they catch B grade. Chris Miller. So massive hats off there.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's true. On the drone footage, it's Chris Miller who drags them all through over the pimple and into the left-hander.
Yeah, and he's been on the front for nearly the entire lap. So
yeah, that was a huge
pull.
Similar turn was actually by Cam Fraser, I think, with 2 or 3 to go. Down that whole way down the straight, he was just sitting there drilling it.
Yeah, but I am going to go for Luca Zucchiardi. I think for all the reasons that you just said, John, like that's that last. I've done a little short video just having a look at those last corners and how well he rode, how he slotted into position, how then he fought for his position, and then where he opened his sprint, and then how he finished. I think is class, absolute class. So Luca Zucchiardi for me. So it's over to you.
Oh, there you go. Well done, Luca. The family get to eat.
Well, hang on.
Potentially.
I get a bit of a vote as well.
Potentially.
Potentially. I want to give a real shout out to Alana from up from Melbourne. I thought she rode superbly. Luca, again, like I said earlier, I thought he rode a very well-oiled B grade performance. The way he jumped in and out there, picked the right wheels, that was excellent. My rider though is actually going to be Caitlin Rose.
Good pick.
4th in C grade there, because I just think that was watching how well she sat in there and rode was really impressive. And I think just, that for me, I was like, that is the rider of the week.
I would support your nomination there.
I'd also like to give a shout out. I thought Logan Campbell, that was a massive last turn. He did very, very well as well. But yeah, I thought Caitlin Rose from Newcastle CC, I mean, I think only a few weeks ago she was getting nailed off the back of C. And now, bang, sitting in there, looking comfortable.
I'm actually supporting your nomination, Alexi.
So I think with that, we now have it's nice for me to actually, for once, change minds as opposed to having mine so easily manipulated. I must be almost like I'm like one of those conspiracy theorists where, I watch one guy on YouTube who has no knowledge at all and go, oh, okay, he must be right. So with that, we congratulate Caitlin Rose. You are our Chargrill Charlies Rider of the Week.
Now, I'm not sure whether Chargrill Chicken are in Central Coast Newcastle, but if they're not working, bring you the family pack and you can have it before the race next week.
So is she coming down from Newcastle every week?
Central Coast, I think.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
She's in Baz's squad.
Yeah, Big Baz does. Yeah, I know. I thought he had quite a night on Tuesday night than he normally does. I think he was starting to look for points and was perhaps looking for the late attack that, unfortunately, due to the early C grade catch, he
wasn't feeling. I saw Baz yesterday. We rode together for a little while, and he wasn't feeling it. He told me he had a bit on. He was down for work and got caught up. There's that work thing again. I don't know how work for anyone interferes with Heffron. Take a leaf out of my book, everybody. Don't let it interfere.
Just so easy to say. While we're giving shouts, there was a rider, and look, clearly I don't know, but there was a rider in B grade who had like a white jersey on with like a purple like tie-dye through it or something. You'll see him. I thought he did a mountain of work.
Jesus.
Oh, that was Jesus.
Yes. He's been going really, really well.
He rode super well in B grade and was doing a mountain of work.
Had a fantastic ride the week before. Wanted to go to A grade. Maybe just win B grade first. But he's been very, very impressive in every race he's turned up in the last month. So congratulations, Jesus. You're on the right track there.
Yeah. No, I thought he was riding very well. With that, perhaps we go
last
to
lap.
The Spurge, the King.
No, we've got a bit for the last lap this week.
Last lap. We have a lot. The other rider who actually made a bit of an appeal for the last lap was saw Alex Malone also got himself onto the start line on Tuesday night, the Bond Cycling representative. So we've certainly got it all covered. What would you guys like to talk about on the last lap?
Well, we've got last lap. We've got a big weekend of racing, and I think that's about the only agenda. So Spurge's last lap, I don't think Spurge's racing, but for those that don't know, the Pro Velo Super League is in town. There's 3 races on Friday at Eastern Creek. On Saturday, it's at the Cronulla Crit Circuit down on Wanda Beach, and there are graded races for all riders during the day, and I think the Pro Velo crits at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Vaughan, you've got more info on that. And then on Sunday, I think they're down at the driver training circuit at Maroon. Don't think I'll be going down to that one, but get down to Cronulla on Saturday and support a bit of cycling. And I think one of the races must be Saturday, Vaughan. It's televised on SBS.
Absolutely, and so they're leaving the entries open until 2 p.m. So any races out 2 p.m. on Friday. So if anyone wants to go down there and pull on a jersey, there's racing all day on Saturday down at Cronulla.
Can I just add, Edwin, if you're not riding in the Pro Velo and you want to race on the graded scratch race, enter before 2.
Yeah, I think Emo will want you to enter that one. I don't think he'll give him the leeway that sometimes we do it Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And then, yes, and from about 5 p.m., you've got the Pro Velo Elite Men and Women race down there. And a little bit of a surprise, if you share the podcast between now and, say, Saturday, 9 a.m. I'll go and have a look who's shared the podcast, and we'll choose someone, and I'll hand out a free ticket to what they call the Echelon Club, which is the VIP club, 2 hours or 3 hours of drinks and food, and a special VIP brewing area down at Cronulla. Special guests like CJ Sutton, a few others. So share the potty, and we'll give you some love.
Oh, good stuff. And talking one other item, I found out this morning that there's a international visitor in Sydney for the weekend. He's most probably up in Centennial Park now, swapping off with Millsy and the rest of the guys in the chop. But Valtteri Bottas, the Formula One driver, is in town. So if you see him out on the road, don't be surprised. Maybe we could get him down to the
Tuesday night.
Super League. Yeah.
Well,
that's what we really.
He's going to be around.
Apparently, but he's here for a Grand Prix. I'm not sure where that is. How that could be bigger than Heffron?
Exactly. Well,
so that'll be great.
So that'll be out of Tuesday Night Heffron to all those Pro Velo guys, because, like, you can win, a Pro Velo stage, or you can win Tuesday Night Heffron. I'll be asking CJ that question: Kern, Brussels, Kern, or Tuesday Night Heffron, which is his biggest win? He's going to say Tuesday Night Heffron every time.
Oh, absolutely! I know that for a fact.
Because I'm sure John's asking him on many of occasion. And so it also, obviously, we have to thank, I believe that's the Pro Velo also is being helped out by Randwick Botany Cycling Club and
Sutherland
and Sutherland Cycling Club. So they've done a fantastic job getting it. So it would be good to see a big crowd there. Hopefully the weather remains good. No cyclones blow in. But that'd be very, very good. Exciting to have the racing back there at Cronulla. It's been a few years.
He won the last crit down in Tassie, so he'll have his Cache boys just tuned up, ready to rock it again, I reckon.
Good circuit.
Yep.
Who won the last race at Cronulla?
Oh, I think it was Caleb Ewan.
Might be right.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did Matt White win?
Crafty,
where are you when we need you?
Yeah, that's it. Where's Crafty? Yeah, I think it could have been Caleb.
I think you might be right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
he might have been in N-Swiss kit then as well. I think, as opposed to.
Yeah, could have been. I remember. I watched that. Yeah.
So that is fantastic. But otherwise, I think Harvey got the wood over his dad again. Anthony, everyone with Dad Zing. Josh Evans was ahead of his old man Dave. I think they were the only family members I think I can see.
Well, Kurt Eather bumped his bro off.
Yes, that's it. Kurt Eather, that's right. So Dylan will be thinking, geez, give us some love. I did all that work, close some gaps, and what do? Take all the glory. No, better spare him a chip.
And thanks, as you mentioned earlier, Vaughan, to the East crew for the setup, and also a special mention to, we always mention Rich, of course, for his photographs and his drone footage, but Parrick Hagen and Greg McCarthy were down there, posted their photos on the Facebook page, so there's heaps of images to sift through. And the one last thing, of course, is bunch of entries are open.
Entries are open Tuesday night. Look, the heavens do not bother to rain on Tuesday night at the moment. Every round counts. 3 rounds remaining. Get involved. Get along on Saturday to Randwick. Get your entries in via Buncher. Get your cycling aero socks from Capo. And until then, what do we say?
See you next
Tuesday.